Thank you for joining me. I had no idea the Rotas-Sator Square existed until about a month ago when I stumbled upon it in the prologue of a Clive Cussler book titled The Oracle, which called it the Magic Square. I thought, could this be real? And found out that it was. The square displays 5 Latin words in a perfect palindrome, which is words, phrases, and sequences that read backwards and forwards. In fact, the letters in the square can be read in all directions, right to left, left to right, top to bottom, bottom to top, and if rotated 180 degrees, they read the same. For example, the word Sator backwards is Rotas. The Rotas-Sator Square has been carved on stone, scribbled as graffiti on buildings, scratched on surfaces, illustrated on clay tablets, penned in books, and depicted on personal belongings. 2 squares were uncovered in the ruins of Pompeii dating to 79 AD and were the earliest appearance to date. The origin of the square has been attributed to pre-Christian, Judaism, Mithraism, as well as Christianity. The ubiquitous Rotas-Sator Square has been discovered throughout the Roman Empire from the 1st through the 4th centuries AD, and from England down to Portugal and across to Syria, as well as many other countries in between to include France, Turkey, Egypt, Hungary, and Spain. Older versions display Rotas on top, and later versions give the word Sator top billing. The square is very ancient, omnipresent, and up to this point mysterious. Attempts to untangle this mystery has offered literal translations of the square's words, such as the sower, Aripo as a name, holds wheels, or the great sower holds in his hand all works. It appears these simple translations are a myopic view of the messages and graphic symbolism of the square. Before a full understanding of the messages on the square can be acquired, some of the graphic concepts must be understood first. The word Rotas appears in my Chi-Rho symbol translation in this series of videos. My interest in the Chi-Rho symbol peaked when I realized the letters R and O are Rho and Omega in Greek, and the S and A in Latin spell the word Rosa. Sub Rosa translates into under the rose and means secrets to the Romans. Both Greek and Latin alphabets, as well as English, Hebrew, Norse, Arabic, and other Semitic languages, originated from the Phoenician alphabet. To translate the Rotas message from the Chi-Rho symbol in my previous videos, I borrowed the Phoenician letter T or Ta, which is an X, and the word Rotas appeared from the Chi-Rho symbol. Not surprisingly, a basic Chi-Rho symbol can be easily constructed from the Rotas-Sator Square by drawing lines connecting the S's, R's, and T's inside a circle connected by the T's. So what does this mean? It symbolizes the Wheel of Fortune, or in Latin, Rota Fortunae, that belongs to the goddess Fortuna. Rotas Fortunae symbolizes the capricious nature of fate, and is said that the positions on the wheel randomly changes places as the wheel spins. The Wheel of Fortune purportedly refers to the 8th band of the stars and the 9th band of the zodiac signs on the celestial sphere, created by the works of the Chaldeans and Babylonians and was later developed further by the ancient Greeks. The bands of the sphere from the outside working in are the Empyrean heaven, dwelling of God and selected, 10th heaven, first cause, 9th heaven, crystalline, 8th heaven of the firmament, 7th heaven of Saturn, 6 Jupiter, 5 Mars, 4 Sun, 3 Venus, 2 Mercury, 1 Moon, Earth. It's interesting to see the 7th band of Saturn is considered the 7th heaven, which they say is the holiest because it is the realm of God, and under his throne is the abode of all the unborn souls. Saturn represents fate, the karma of destiny and infrastructure. Circa 650 BC, some believe Ancus Marcius, 4th king of Rome, introduced the Fortuna culture to the Romans, and others say later around 550 BC, Servius Tullius, 6th king of Rome, had this distinction. Large Fortuna temples were built in the 3rd and 4th century BC. Chance events were closely tied to virtus, strength of character, for weak souls invited misfortune. The Wheel of Fortune does not predict the future, but are twists of fate floating you along on the river of randomness. The Wheel of Fortune is emblematic of the endless changes of the cycles of life, swaying between prosperity and disaster. Note that after constructing the Chi-Rho symbol from the square, the unconnected letters left are the alpha A's and the omega O's. Therefore, a second graphic lurks in the Rotas-Sator Square. The zodiac wheel of the 12 30-degree sectors emerges if you leave the T-lines and circle in situ and connect the A's and O's with lines. It appears the Wheel of Fortune and the zodiac wheel are superimposed on each other. Why is this? The answer comes from the 2nd century AD astronomer and Hellenistic astrologer Vidius Valens, who wrote, "There are many wheels, most move from west to east, but some move from east to west. 7 wheels, each hold one heavenly object. The first holds the moon, then the 8th wheel holds all the stars that we see, and the 9th wheel, the Wheel of Fortunes, moves from east to west, and includes each of the 12 signs of fortune and 12 signs of the zodiac. Each wheel is inside the other, like an onion's peel sits inside another peel, and there is no empty space between them." The square also represents the sun and the moon. The circle connecting the 4 T's represents the sun, and a smaller circle that connects the central 4 E's represents the moon. The cyclical course of time, year, and season are bestowed by the sun. The cyclical moon phases in its traverse around the earth represents months, weeks, and days. And as well, the planets and fixed stars appear to revolve from east to west in the sky, while the earth appears to rotate on its axis from west to east. Note that the S's in the words Rotas and Sator are backwards. One reason for this is that the Z in the earlier form of the Latin alphabet became an R. This transformation is called rotacism, from the Greek letter rho for R. Rotar means to revolve, spin, or turn. Rotar backwards spells rator, which means to reason or think. Before all roads led to Rome, and its founding by the twin brothers Romulus and Remus on April 21st, 753 BC, there was 2 original ruling gods, Saturn and Janus, representing agriculture. The god Saturn of sowing, and his brother Janus of calendars and agriculture. Note the Ouroboros, the snake biting its tail wrapped around Saturn, because this will become important later in the video. Janus is more famously known as the two-faced god of doorways, beginnings, and transitions, or more precisely a god of putting things into motion at boundaries. Saturn may have ruled time, but Janus was the progenitor, the father of beginnings, believed to be present at the beginning of the world. Janus is the doorkeeper of heaven, and the route through which one reaches the other gods, for he is the god of the gods. According to the 1st century BC scholar and writer Marcus Terentius Vado, the name Saturn originated from the Latin word satis, meaning sowing or planting. The word Sator in the square signifies the god Saturn as the sower, planter, founder, and creator. His Titan Greek counterpart is Cronus. Saturn's heaven on earth was established in the wildly popular Roman festival Saturnalia, held at the time of the winter solstice as the sun is entering the zodiac sign of Capricorn, ruled by the god and planet Saturn. Saturn is described as the god of agriculture, generations, closures, dissolutions, chaos, abundance, wealth, periodic renewals, and especially of seasons, time, rules, restrictions, and liberation within limits. Saturn allows growth, but only through restricted boundaries and limits, because he is the taskmaster of discipline, responsibility, maturity, and wisdom, which is the antithesis of the intoxicating revelry of Saturnalia. The Phoenician philosopher Porphyry Tyre called it freeing of the souls into immortality. The first temple of Saturn was built in 497 BC. Many of the same cultural traditions and rituals of Saturnalia are observed today during our modern Christmas celebrations. Undeniably, even the precursor pagan festivals revolved around the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year, which marks the beginning of the increasing renewal of light, a beginning and transition that the two-faced Janus oversaw, since he even ruled the month of January. During Saturnalia, candles were lit symbolizing knowledge and truth in the growth of light. The original modest farming observances, marked by the harvest season near the end of December, morphed into the highly coveted multiple-day holiday Saturnalia, of feasting, drinking, gift exchanging, game playing, gambling, candle lighting, and overall debauchery, turning it into an uproarious hedonistic party in the streets Dionysian style. Saturnalia subverted social order and was marked by role reversals between master and servants, and the freedom of the servants to join into the frivolity. Saturnalia merged with the ancient Roman winter solstice Vermilia festival that honored the Roman and Greek gods of agriculture, Saturn, Cronus, goddesses of fertility, Ceres, Demeter, and god of wine and grapes, Dionysus, and later the Roman god of wine, Bacchus. In the darkest moment of the year, the winter solstice dissolves the dark, dry, and cold of Saturn, bringing in its Janus role reversals of Saturnalia, the celebration of light and growing light, wet and warmth of the sun. The honoring of the gods associated to agriculture after the fall equinox in September appears in a sequence. Libra, the September and October zodiac sign, honored the goddess Demeter alongside Dionysus with festivals for the harvest of wine. Scorpio, the November zodiac sign of death, is ruled by Mars, who is an agricultural guardian, protector of the crops. Sagittarius, the December zodiac sign, is ruled by the sky god Jupiter of thunder and rain, representing weather. Most importantly, Jupiter killed the Greco-Roman god of medicine Asclepius for his healing acumen to bring the dead back to life, and immortalized him in the sky as the snake-bearing constellation of Fucus. Asclepius was the father of Roman medicine, who used omens, dreams, and medical astrology in his healing practices, and is extensively profiled in my Chi-Rho videos. The sign of Capricorn begins around December 22nd, with the winter solstice signaling the beginning of winter. Solstice means the sun stands still for approximately 3 days until discernible movement of the sun begins on December 25th. After the agricultural festivals, many gods and prophets' birthdays are honored on December 25th to celebrate the resurrection of the sun through these gods from death to life. My research discovered the following December 25th birthday boys: Roman god Jupiter, Greek god of wine Dionysus, Hindu deity Krishna, Greek sun gods Zeus and Helios, Persian Vedic god Mitra, Egyptian gods Ra and Osiris, Roman sun god Mithras, Roman unconquerable sun god Sol Invictus, and Christian god Jesus at a much later date. Earliest writings for Persian Mithras appeared around 1400 BC. Dionysus appeared not long after, around 1300 BC, and Krishna appeared much later, between the 6th to the 5th century BC. Roman Mithras was identified with Roman Sol Invictus around the 1st century BC, and Jesus appeared to be a culmination of these prior gods. Let's analyze the word Rotas on the square. Originally, the word Rotas had top billing in the ancient versions of the square. Rotas is Latin for wheels are to rotate, pointing out the primary and secondary zodiac wheels of astrology. The sun is in motion along the ecliptic, the path of the sun, and the moon is in motion around the earth, and the earth is rotating on its axis. The anagram for Rotas, or if you rearrange the letters, spells the word astro, which is Latin and Greek for a star or celestial body. Note the dots in the center of the O's in the older stone carvings to represent stars, and it's called a solar symbol that stands for our sun or a star. Let's analyze the mixed-up word arepo, A-R-E-P-O. Arepo is the key to the square. Arepo spells either arpe or arpo, which is a variant of harp in Latin and Greek, which is surprisingly borrowed from the Proto-Germanic word harpo, meaning a plucked stringed instrument. Most H's are typically silent, so the H was dropped. The question is, who would create the Rotas-Sator Square using the German-based word harp instead of the commonly used ancient Greek word lyre, who wrote in Latin and probably Greek? The answer is the Roman author, scholar, and naturalist Gaius Plinius Secundus, famously known as Pliny the Elder. Born in 23 AD, a mile from today's border of Switzerland, and served well over 10 years in Germany in the Roman military. Pliny wrote a 20-volume treatise on the history of the German wars. His literary acumen peaked after his publication of a 37-book suite on natural history that spanned a plethora of topics to include astronomy and astrology. His sister lived near Mount Vesuvius, and Pliny died there during the infamous eruption of Mount Vesuvius 79 AD at the age of 56. Pliny had visited all the starred locations on this map. The two messages, harp and stars, direct you to the Lyra constellation, with the main star Vega, which is one of the three stars in the summer triangle. Lyra is not on the ecliptic path of the sun, therefore it does not qualify as a zodiac sign, but is located in the sign of Capricorn that is ruled by Saturn. Was this a wild guess by me? Not really. An adequate configuration of the Lyra constellation was left on the square to reinforce this message. Pliny believed the sky could give clues to your destiny when he is quoted in saying, "There's nobody who is no eager to learn his destiny, or who does not believe that the truest account of it is gained by watching the skies." Pliny's contemporary Marcus Manlius, astrologer and poet from the 1st century AD, spoke of fate that rules the motion of the stars of the heavens and governs each aspect of human life on earth. In the 2nd century BC, Ptolemy knew the Lyra constellation's brightest star simply as Lyra. Islamic astronomers documented fixed stars to mark the time of prayer, festivals, and location of Mecca, and knew Lyra as the falling eagle. The etymology of the word Vega originated from the Arabic term al-Nasar al-Wakin, which I think is something close to the pronunciation, meaning the falling or landing eagle or vulture. In fact, the two stars believed to be the eagle's talons above each side of the eagle's head means it's actually upside down in the sky, contrary to the ancient and modern star maps. Astronomically, Vega is Alpha Lyrae. Beta Lyrae is an Arabic word for harp, and Gamma Lyrae is an Arabic word for tortoise, the shell used by the god Hermes to make the body of the lyre. During my research of Vega, its importance through antiquity was surprising and has been considered the next most important star in the sky after the sun. Circa 12,000 BC, Vega was Polaris, the navigational North Star. Depending on the source, Vega is the second or third brightest star visible in the mid-northern latitudes after Sirius in the Orion constellation and is tied with Arcturus in the Bootes constellation. Aside from the Sun, Vega was the first star to be photographed in daguerreotype in 1850, and is also the first star to undergo light spectrum analysis. Strangely, our Sun and planets are moving through space towards the general direction of Vega. Most importantly, it appears to have been used as a seasonal timekeeper for the Romans. The Lyra constellation is at its zenith midsummer in the northern hemisphere, and for the Roman Empire, the start of autumn was based upon the hour at which Vega set below the horizon. In fact, Julius Caesar noted Lyra setting from different locations. In ancient Greek, the word harp means a bird of prey, falcon or hawk, and alternately describes an agricultural scythe-like tool to harvest crops, or a curved sword with a sickle-shaped spike along one edge near the tip of the blade. It's infamously known as the weapon that had beheaded Medusa. However, the harp sword is most notably known in Greek mythology as the weapon used by Cronus to castrate and depose his father Uranus, and has become the symbol of Cronus's titanic power. Cronus's castration of his father symbolized the separation of heaven and earth. The word harp, or arp with an E at the end, also means to play a harp or pluck the strings one by one. Much later, the Italian word arpeggio appeared, meaning to play or sing the notes individually in a sequence or a stair-step fashion. In this instant, Pliny borrowed from Pythagoras the message of music, emphasizing moving one thing to the next, a pattern in a series comparing music to the rhythmic progression of life, which describes and reinforces the word opera discussed in the next section. Opera is the plural form for the noun opus, meaning a work as in a piece of music, art, or literature, as well as the labor of work and its results. Think about the Italian and Latin words for music. Tempo in Italian and tempus in Latin both mean time. Adagio describes a slow tempo in Italian and means at ease, and in Latin the noun adagium means proverb or a general truth about life. The word crescendo means to forcibly increase or grow in loudness, and in Latin crescendus means to increase or augment, as well as to become visible, arise, or come forth. The word opera is a connection to music and emotions, with the square's creator defining the drama of human life set to the aesthetics of music. Lyra was also known to the Romans as cantium, meaning song, or tympanium, meaning drum. Heaven and earth was separated when Cronus castrated his father Uranus. But through our soul's redemption in the realm of earth, there is a rejoining of heaven and earth. The Latin word conscius literally means together know, an awakening at the astrological ascendant or rising sign. This is soul binding of heaven and earth. The word horoscopo or horoscope means hour or time watcher, and Saturn is the time watcher. After your crescendo into the world, how can the tempo of life flow evenly to avert tragic consequences, emphasized by operas to advance into the conscious together knowing? Our souls are anima, animated into this world from another sky world. So why not seek answers to a harmonious flow from the sky world? Time and space are the keys, and so are our limitations. But astrology offers a way to be able to predict not the future, but auspicious times to act and ill-fated times to cool your jets. This leads us to the concept of astrological time lords. Saturn is the force that turns the wheel of the zodiac, representing time as a vector. At the ever-present boundaries of the zodiac of space and time, Janus brings in the concepts of the opposing phenomena, light and dark, day and night, sunrise and sunset in the circle of life. Janus was the protector of separations and openings between spatial boundaries. The Greek differentiated time into Cronus, who rules the measure of sequential time, and Kairos, which identifies the right and critical and opportune moments to take advantage of changing circumstances. Kairos implies the quality of time. In Hellenistic astrology, the Time Lord techniques signal the awakening of these crucial times that are read from a person's natal chart using the zodiac sign, degree, and house of the ascendant. The ascendant is the zodiac sign that was rising over the eastern horizon at the time of your birth. Each sign and house influences a certain area in life and activates possible themes for yearly, monthly, and daily focuses in your life. Time Lords are solely predictors of astrological weather and are not predictors of the future. As you age, the cycles of growing and maturing in your life change as well as your priorities over time. The natal chart of Queen Elizabeth I was randomly chosen to compare with a couple different Time Lord techniques, and the choice turned out to be rather interesting. Elizabeth I was one of England's most successful and popular monarchs. Much of her focus was on promoting the Protestant religion to the extreme displeasure of the Catholic Church. The first technique profiled, and the most basic, is called annual perfections. Annual perfections is a Time Lord method that starts the motion around the zodiac wheel from the first house of your natal chart and moves sequentially one sign each year. The yearly zodiac sign, its ruling planet and house, identifies with these influences. Every 12 years, you return back to the original house perfections. An annual perfections wheel by age is all you need to see what area of focus will be for the year. Annual perfections emphasizes the message arpeggio, found earlier in the Rotas-Sator Square, that implies the moving from one to another in a sequence. At age 55, Queen Elizabeth I defeated the Spanish Armada, whose goal was to overthrow her establishment of Protestantism in England. Age 55 places her annual perfections theme in the 8th house in the sign of Cancer, ruled by the moon. The 8th house signifies death, legacies, taxes, and other people's money and possessions, which pretty much sums up the end result of her defeat. However, taskmaster Saturn is in its detriment in Cancer, signifying difficulties. And even though her moon is exalted in the sign of Taurus, strengthening its influence, it resides in the 6th house of bad fortune. Success was given to her at a price. In the aftermath of the battle, many of the sailors went unpaid and died of starvation and diseases due to the queen's tight hold on the purse strings, while being disillusioned by giving the victory solely to God by saying, "God blew and they were scattered." The two other Time Lord techniques are the Lots of Fortune and its complement, the Lots of Spirit. depicting the well-being of fortune, body, and health, from intentions of fortune under circumstances out of your control to actions of spirit in your control, while perhaps revealing hidden significances of certain causes or events. The house the lots are found in represents the area of life that aspires to harmony, and the sign represents the way in which it could happen, symbolizing the path of least resistance. Weak and unaspected lots represent happiness that comes at a price. In fact, the Greek word Chi-Rho actually means weather. The lots of fortune and spirit are dependent on the positions of the sun, moon, and ascendant, and are a mathematical point on your natal chart devised by either adding or subtracting the degrees of the ascendant, moon, and sun in your chart. The sun is the unconscious spirit, allotting light to the various phases of the moon, causing a wakeful consciousness that begins at the moment of birth. This wheel displays the number of years that the lots extend for each sign affiliated to its ruler. For example, the moon in Cancer has a 25-year period, and the sun in Leo has a 19-year period. Moreover, the lot of fortune symbol is the Phoenician letter Teth, a circle with an X inside, which means spinning wheel, inferring the wheel of fortune. Gambling during Saturnalia was games of lots or chance. Lot of spirit shows us how you can take charge of our fate and have wiggle room to act and change our destiny. Connected to the lots of fortune and spirit is zodiacal releasing that assigns a certain amount of time of influence for each sign. Level 1 is in years, level 2 is in months, level 3 is in weeks, and level 4 is in days. One interesting feature occurs in the levels of zodiacal releasing. Once you run the sequence of the 12 zodiac signs, it resumes the cycle from the opposite sign. This is called the loosing of the bonds, or breaking the sequence. Doorman Janus, god of opposites and twinning, oversees this break in the loosing sequence. In Janus's world, if there's a sunrise, the opposite sunset must occur, initiating light to darkness and darkness to light. During the Saturnalia festival, the wool bindings were released on the statue of Saturn's feet, symbolizing the loosing of the bonds, signifying a 180-degree change. The small siglaria figurines given as gifts during Saturnalia were most likely guardians or protectors of the annual perfections, the lots of fortune and spirit unique to a person for that particular year or time period. Lot of spirit is very similar, and only lot of fortune will be profiled due to the time constraints. Here is Queen Elizabeth's September 7th, 1533 natal chart. Overall influences start at her sun in Virgo in the 10th house of career and what you do in life. The sun is shining a commanding presence necessary for her leadership role as queen. Sun in the 10th house is her dharma, soul mission. Many Virgos do not marry or marry late, and in fact, Queen Elizabeth was called the Virgin Queen because she never married. Her lot of fortune is in Leo in the 9th house of religion, signifying her Protestant faith, throwing England back into the Reformation after a period of enforced Catholicism. Here's a quick review of the transition years for Queen Elizabeth's zodiacal releasing level 1. In 1552, her transition year, her half-brother King Edward contracted tuberculosis and died in July of 1553. In 1572, her religious nemesis Gregory XIII became Pope. Entertaining enough, in 1580, Pope Gregory XIII proclaimed it not a sin to kill Queen Elizabeth I. In 1594, Spain had the audacity to attack her homeland on the shores of Cornwall. And as well, land disputes began the 9 Years' War in Ireland. The last word to analyze on the square is tenet. Tenet in Latin means to hold a belief, opinion, or dogma as an absolute truth. However, nothing in my above translation could be remotely considered the absolute truth. So truth has to be found within the word tenet, or more specifically the letter N, which is the core of the palindrome. The Phoenician, Egyptian, Hebrew, and Arabic letter N, called Nun, means snake. The center N and the backwards S's are depictions of snakes. In the linear sky view, the snake is the traverse of the sun in the sky from solstices to equinoxes. When the Chi-Rho symbol is rotated 90 degrees, the sun rising over the horizon and the sinuous yearly path of the sun appears. In the circular orbit of the sun, it is the Ouroboros, the snake biting its tail, that we saw many times accompanying Saturn in this video's graphics. The Ouroboros dates back to 5000 BC and symbolizes rebirth, healing, power, protection, magic, immortality, eternity, unity, and the cycles of nature that are always in perpetual change. The daily cycle of the sun is victory over night, and so is the apparent yearly solar return of the sun. My take on this is that the N in the center of the square turns into an O representing the symbol of the Ouroboros, changing the letter N in tenant to the letter O spells T-E-O-E-T, which is to be read from the outside in. Instead of Theo, the Greek word for God, with the TH symbolizing death for the word Thanatos, it turns into the Greek letter Tau, symbolizing life. This variant word Theo appears to make the distinction of an omnipresent, eternal, living God. Hermes Trismegistus said, God is a circle whose center is everywhere and whose circumference is nowhere. There is so much more I could say about this, but time, as always, is an issue. One day perhaps I'll do a video on the Roman concept of twins and twinning. Thank you for stopping by my channel, and please subscribe, like, comment, and share to support my channel. I wish you acceptance, peace, and happiness.